Hello students, greetings to all of you. Welcome to the second video of class 8 biology chapter 9 reproduction in animals. In the previous video we had discussed about male and female reproductive organs of human beings. Hope all of you understood well. Now we will describe the process of sexual reproduction in human beings. The process of reproduction in humans takes place in two steps. Number one, fertilization, and number two, development of embryo. Now we will study about fertilization. The first step in the process of reproduction is the fusion of a sperm, male gamete, and an ovum, female gamete. The fusion of sperm with the egg is called fertilization. Here is the picture of the fertilization. Here sperm, the nucleus of the sperm fuses with the nucleus of the ovum or the egg to form a single nucleus. So this is the fertilized egg. Fertilized egg is also known as zygote. Okay, so the sperm combines with the egg in the oviduct. So fertilization takes place in the oviduct and it fertilizes to form a zygote. The zygote or fertilized egg is the beginning of the formation of a new baby or a new individual. And zygote is single celled. Now, fertilization is of two types. Fertilization which takes place inside the female body is called internal fertilization. Internal fertilization occurs in many animals including humans, cow, dog and hens. But in many animals, fertilization takes place outside the body of the female. In these animals, fertilization takes place outside mother's body in water. For example, during spring or rainy season, frogs and toads move to ponds and slow flowing streams. When the male and female come together in water, the female lays hundreds of eggs. The frog's eggs are not covered by a shell and they are comparatively very delicate. So a layer of jelly hold the eggs together and provide protection to the eggs. As the eggs are laid, the male deposits sperms over them, and each sperm swims randomly in water with the help of its long tail, and then these sperms come in contact with the eggs. So such type of fertilization in which the fusion of male and female gamete takes place outside the body of the female is called external fertilization. This external fertilization is a very common feature in aquatic animals. Water is required for the external fertilization. Aquatic animals such as fish, frog, starfish, etc. Now the question arises, why do fish and frog lay eggs in hundreds whereas hen lays only one egg at a time? The answer is, though these animals lay hundreds of eggs and releases millions of sperms, all the eggs do not get fertilized and develop into new individual because the eggs and sperms are exposed to water movement, wind, rainfall. Also other animals are also there in the pond, so they may feed on these eggs. So production of large number of eggs and sperms is necessary to ensure fertilization of at least a few of them. That is why they lay hundreds of eggs at a time. Next, we have to study about development of embryo. Next, we have to study about development of embryo. After fertilization, the zygote begins to develop into an embryo. Already I told you zygote is single celled. The single celled zygote divides repeatedly to make a ball of 100 of cells, and this is called an embryo. Okay, then this embryo moves down the oviduct to the uterus, and it gets embedded in the soft and thick lining of the uterus, and this process is called implantation. Okay, the embryo starts growing into a baby. The embryo gets food and oxygen from the blood vessels in the lining of the uterus. The cells of embryo begin to form specialized groups that develop into different tissues and organs of the baby. So, embryo is an early stage in a developing baby. Thus, an unborn baby at an early stage of development in the uterus is called an embryo. Their body features are not much developed at this embryo stage. Okay, here we can see the picture. You can see that this is ovary. Ovary produces ovum and it passes to the oviduct. That process is known as ovulation. And then here fertilization takes place in the oviduct and zygote forms. Zygote is single cell. Then it divides repeatedly. Then you can see number of balls and form the embryo. Then it embedded in the walls of uterus for the further development. That process is known as the implantation. Here the picture of the ball of cells, enlarged picture it is shown here, and then developing embryo. Understood all of you? The embryo continues to grow and develop in the uterus to form a baby. The embryo gradually develops body parts such as hands, legs, head, eyes, and ears, etc. An unborn baby in the uterus at the stage when all the body parts can be identified is called a fetus. So what is fetus? The stage of the embryo, or we can say an unborn baby in the uterus at the stage when all the body parts can be identified. And the human embryo becomes a fetus after about 8 weeks of pregnancy. From about 8 weeks till birth, the unborn baby is called a fetus. It takes about 40 weeks or about 9 months, or we can say 280 days, for the embryo to grow and develop a fully formed baby, and this period is called a gestation period. So gestation period of human beings is 9 months or 40 weeks or 280 days, we can say. The fully formed baby comes out of the mother's body through the vagina, and we say that a baby is born. This is how humans reproduce, by giving birth to babies. Here the picture of the fetus in the uterus. Next, we have to study about in vitro fertilization, IVF. In a healthy woman, the fertilization of egg by the sperm takes place in the oviduct or fallopian tube. The oviducts of some women are blocked due to some reason. Such women cannot produce babies in the normal way because the eggs released by their ovary cannot meet the sperms and get fertilized in the oviduct because their oviducts are blocked. In such a case, in vitro fertilization is carried out. In vitro fertilization, that is IVF, is a process by which an egg is fertilized by a sperm outside the body. The process involves removing ovum or ova from the woman's ovaries and letting sperm fertilize them in a fluid medium in a laboratory. So, fertilization takes place in a laboratory. The fertilized egg, that is zygote, is cultured for 2 to 6 days in a growth medium and is then transferred to the mother's uterus. So complete development takes place in uterus and the baby is born like any other babies. So babies born through this technique are called test tube babies. The first successful birth of a test tube baby is Louise Brown, that is occurred in 1978, and Robert G. Edwards, the physiologist who developed the IVF technique, was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology in 2010. Hope all of you understood the fertilization and development of the embryo. Thank you.